Welcome to Winternomics.eth, your stream. Welcome to Winternomics.eth, your stream will begin shortly. Loading in 5. Loading for 5. 4. 3. 3. 2. 2. Welcome to Winternomics.eth, your stream will begin shortly. Welcome to Winternomics.eth, your stream will begin shortly. Loading in 5. 4. Welcome to Winternomics.eth, your stream will begin shortly. Loading in 5. Welcome to Winternomics.eth, your stream will begin shortly. 3. 2. Loading in 5. 4. 1. Get ready, bitches. Welcome to Winternomics. Your stream will begin shortly. Welcome. Welcome to Winternomics.eth, your stream will begin shortly. Loading in 5. 4. 3. 2. Welcome to Winternomics. Get ready, bitches. Your stream will begin shortly. Welcome to Winternomics TV. Your stream will begin shortly. Loading in 5. Welcome to Winternomics TV. Your stream will begin shortly. 3. Loading in 5. 4. Welcome to Winternomics TV. Your stream 3 will begin shortly. 2. 1. Get ready, bitches. Winternomics. Welcome. Winter, 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 Winternomics. Winter, 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 winter. Welcome. Winter, 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 Winternomics.
Yo, yo, yo. What up, everybody? How y'all doing this morning? A couple minutes late on the start. My bad. So, I bet y'all are wondering about that title. End of the year, so some things to have some conversations about to go into next year and kind of just take a step back and think some things through. So we're going to have some conversations about like a bit more macro look at things. Appreciate the bits for Spirit of the Bull, Lifted Mindset. Bob Deck. You guys got the hype train going before I even got here. Love it. I got a rash of unfollows and OnlyFans. Kind of reminds me of something about Twitter. You know, if they see that you hit too many things, even the people who came to follow you will start to hate you. Pretty funny, but it's a good sentiment read when people start to leave something like that. You know, only the few have access to good ideas. So it's exactly the way it should be. I appreciate everybody that is appreciating OnlyFans. For all the salty people who came in there or leaving, well, we're not going to miss you. So let's see here. I have no idea what that says. Respect, yada yada. Alright, so let me get over to this, see if I can stream to work over here. There it goes. Alright. So how many of you guys out there have gotten a piece of this Japan wave? I put up a before and after for OnlyFans yesterday talking about the move in Japan. Made headlines finally, you know, as we're breaking into areas that have not been seen in 20 plus years for Japan. What's going on here? There we go. It's changing fast. Good. Caught same trade on Toyota. Let's see. Still in Japan for a minute now. Rode it for a while. Caught the same trade on Toyota. Good shit. I caught the Unity play still in it. Okay, that's not Japan, but good job. Good shit. Good shit. We definitely want to be ahead of the planet. You know, that's one of the things. When everybody comes up with the same idea, it's not worth shit. So it's you know, timing does matter. A lot of people will say anything, and if it happens, and you know, it doesn't matter much. But the reality is once everybody has the same idea, it's not worth shit. So if you don't have an idea that few have, you don't have anything worth anything. So we want to be ahead of the market. We want to be ahead of the world. We want to be where everybody's going to find out later, because that's who's going to buy our bags off of us, when we're there already. So for all you guys that have taken, fat rides on Japan, very nice. Caught Nintendo. That Nintendo call right on. The Nintendo call was fucking money. You guys owe Spirit of the Bull a tip for that one. You actually owe his wife a tip. Where is it? God damn it. There we go. That was easily one of the fucking best. Actually, the kings of owning levels on the show right now, Leon and Spirit. You guys are money. So I was Spirit's wife, and then Leon, gave us the key level on the VIX, which ultimately set up a box range we now call Leon's Lunchbox. So yeah, you guys are Spirit's wives. At least complimentary dinner somewhere nice if you hit this thing. But yeah, his wife buying that shit, money. So you got to show this clip to your wife too, Spirit. I'd love to know what the fuck she says about this crazy shit. She's like, how the fuck does that equal anything? Get way more than a tit. I'm sure he's got that unlocked, Henry. We don't need that in here. More than just a tip. This is a family show. Well, not really. But yeah, that's some badass shit. So I probably owe your wife a dinner too, man. That was money. Money entry time. Jesus. Keep it PG-13, damn it. Alright. Yeah, because I always do that. So yeah, it was good shit. Sony, for anybody talked about, the Japan basket, the main ones we talked about here. I'm not sure why that's so slow. But yeah, we talked about, this guy too, and there's other plays out there. But yeah. So good stuff I see in the chat from you guys. Hype level 2. I'll take it. So OnlyFans, on that note, pretty complete analysis, and this is a very broad macro analysis that's not done now. What I do notice, a lot of people, from even back in the days, they would always ask me, so do you have anything else? Do you have anything new coming? When they fail to really fully utilize much of the stuff that is old, just because it's dated doesn't mean it's worthless. And that's something that's really funny. People get really caught up in what have you done for me lately without really looking at what I've done for you in total. The reality is you need to look at these things ongoing, because markets evolve. It's what we do on the show. We evolve, charts over time, because they're not one and done. Markets are constantly evolving, and so you want to stay on top of that evolution. So most of what I put here is, going to evolve forward and still have utility going forward. These levels that we establish in these charts, I'm very careful about what levels I select, and they have memory. So these levels will be useful again in the future, as was shown with Bitcoin, right? Where the heck is it? Somewhere in here. One of these things. All right, remember, many people who followed me years ago, never paid attention to this. But I don't mark anything if it's not useful, and it's going to be useful now and again. If it's precise, it'll be useful again and again and again, right? Price has memory. These are a graph of the consensus belief structures of all the participants in the market, even the ones who don't trade. And these levels represent emotional levels for participants. This is a graph of emotion. So it's very important. And that's why I mark and label them with names, because they're, kind of tells of the idea of sentiment that you're looking for. That grandma needs a job. This is fucking desperate situation, right? After you suckered your grandmother into fucking Bitcoin and it goes through here, she's gonna be in shit creek. The whole family's in shit creek. So this kind of ties to that sentiment. Boats and cocaine. Well, what kind of logic comes after boats and cocaine? Not much, right? That's fucking manic mania levels. So these kind of represent that. And so what comes next after you go through a manic mania level? Likely a fucking parabolic spike. And so these levels, represent different states of the market at these points. So all of this stuff, old or not, is still useful. This is a 2-year-old chart that most people forgot all about and never paid any attention to. It's been sitting publicly on Facebook the whole time. So, stuff down here, most people didn't really look too much. This was a basket of bio names. Wait, sorry, that's World Markets, wrong one. I guess that one's older. Where's it at? Way down here. Here it is. Tons of these. ARCG, Invita, Novacure. Tons of ridiculous plays left here, because this is the age of genomics. I didn't see too many people actually pay much attention to this, but I gave you a basket here of like fireplace to watch all together. You know, and if you take a look at something like fucking Arc G that's in there, when was that dropped? October October 7th. October 7th, right in here. Arc G is actually a fund, October 7th, by the very popular now Kathy Wood, and that's an entire fund full of genomic names that went 60%. So that actually was, if you paid attention, a basket within a basket is what I actually threw up here. Most people who didn't read it didn't realize that. I threw some component stocks and some stocks from other places, and then I threw a fucking entire basket in the dead center of it. Arc G is its own fund of other stocks. So this is not nearly as small as you think it is. This is literally the entire genomic revolution, plus fucking some, highlighted plays that I like. So this one could have paid your entire Christmas and the rest of the year if you paid attention to it. So just because it's old doesn't mean it's not useful, right? These are some good guys for your solar basket to keep eyes on. When solar came back around, we talked on the show. So this is older, but this is give you an idea how to use this. Since I know for many of you that are newer, you don't know exactly what to do. So just because it's old doesn't mean it's not useful. So keep your eyes on OnlyFans. Let's catch up on some chat. OnlyFans paying rent, damn right. I like that. Calls it a timely and timeless. I'll take it. Alright, catching up. Brazil's Bovespa is at all-time highs. If you have time, can you look at EWZ? We sure can. We had some South American plays in OnlyFans also. If you pay attention to those. What is a 2B stop run? We can answer that question. Shout out Jezebel. Appreciate the OnlyFans hype train. All right, that JD fact is looking good. Can you take a look at Z? I can. Can you look at EA? Sure. You can do that. So let's see if I can open this right now while I'm on. See if I can find this for you. What is the 2B run? I'll answer that for you 1 sec before we move along. I have a good illustration to help you with that, if I can just locate it real quick. Which folder are you in, god damn it? Not that one, clearly. There we go. I have that one, and I have another longer one. Where's the longer one? Let's see if I can find that real quick before I show you. There it is. Ah, where did it go? Oh, there it is. Where did the other one go? Alright. CGC. Okay. before we get all those symbols, you can drop those. Those are cool. I'm gonna go back in some context about why I named the show what I named it today, because we're gonna talk about some things before we roll forward. So your question, what is a 2B? Stop run. That term comes from a guy named Victor Sperandeo. He wrote a book called Methods of a Wall Street Master, where he put that rule in it. And that rule is basically his way of describing what market participants do to eject people out of moves by breaching levels and retracing very rapidly. I don't know what I'm looking for here. Where's the fucking button? There it is. Jesus Christ. That. So this is a 2B. So when you see, like, when we talk about, like, we need the price to clear a level and sustain it, it's to avoid that. This is what happens if a price doesn't sustain it and the breach is brief. It's generally to trigger orders hidden behind the level, fill somebody who's got even higher orders, and build a position here and then reverse it through. And this is kind of like what you're trying to be aware of, the fake break that gets you sucked in and then fucking blows you away. If you don't have good risk management, this can really kill you. So like with things like this, risk management would protect you from this, right? You don't know exactly when these breaks won't sustain. But if you're a quick buyer and you buy on the first break, you have to define your risk before this happens, because if it turns into this, it's going to fucking kill you, and it's usually going to come back pretty fast. That's why we talk about like sustaining it, looking for other structures above the level it clears, which gives it time to prove it's not one of these things. What do you call it? I have my own version of it. Is this it? Yeah. So, in kind of showing you this, right, the 2B rule, I wrote it here in the red. This stop run trick is referred to the 2B rule, right? So, it's pretty much like this. Like, it's a move that, like, traps people in the highs of moves, and it stops for early shorts to trigger just above the high. This stop run trick is referred to the 2B rule. It is very common, as in most of the wicks you see that just barely pass a recent high or low and then rip back the other way. Happens in all time frames, too. If you can trigger the stops by moving the offer up just past the high, then you can turn the stops on and they will go market buy right into another offer you hide just above that. Then you take them to the ground until they beg for mercy. This is basically the behavior of what happens in a 2B. So hopefully that answers your question. All right. So, why do we call this Zoomer, Boomer Zoomers, right? Came across an article a while ago that I meant to put up, but I didn't put it up, and I did some more thinking about it, and I thought it'd be probably better to discuss it out a little bit on the show. Is this? So, this article was pretty interesting in CNBC I found, right? It's called, it talks about older Americans are selling the stock market slowly but ceaselessly to junior generations. And this is a persistent role that's actually always kind of going on in the stock market as the market moves through time. The span of the cycles we talk about markets, like the great cycle, the 16 to 18 year cycle, basically is a multi-generational cycle. We talk about, history doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes. This is part of what allows the next generation to make the same mistakes of the previous generation, is the span of time, that is between cycles. So I want to look at this because this is pretty interesting. For one, if you guys don't know the generations, I got this little map to show who's who. So everybody's heard of boomers. Lots of people love calling guys like me a boomer. I'm not actually a boomer. Boomers are actually people like into the 60s. I'm in the next generation, Gen X. And so this gives you an idea of exactly what level of dinosaur I am. But this is interesting. The silent generation, right, that comes from the Great Depression era, World War II, is pretty much not really thought about much. But this generation bleeds into this generation, bleeds into this generation, bleeds into this generation. And they all do this as we reach our life expectancy. Zoomer generation, right, which is right now born 97 to 2017 is the tie that I made here, Zoomer to Boomers. That this generation can literally be a fractal of the Boomer generation for a new era. And I'm kind of thinking about that as a lot of things that I see, from my age, coming from the 80s and 90s. That's really different in the digital age. I feel like your 2000 people born into this digital age, there's a pretty good like distinction to be made between the before 2000 generation and the after 2000 generation. Um, I feel like like the millennials are the last of of the pre digital era folks, people who grew up in an era where that they weren't reliant on tech to the degree we are today. Um, so at any rate, this lag between each generation is pretty interesting to look at because there's hallmarks of each generation's behavior that are pretty fascinating. When we look at the breakdown of household equity and we look at this, like you can see basically the silent majority leaving across the cycles, and then the baby boomers now their percentage of the market beginning to contract. Millennials are still really on the ground, and Zoomers are nowhere here to be yet. You will see that eventually. Let's see here. So I know I opened up a chart for this. Where'd I put it? One sec. Where'd I put you? All right, there we go. All right. Okay. Right. So I want to put a line through the internet bubble. And we want to think about that generation chart we see, right? 1928 to 1945 means at the mark of the internet bubble, a person born in 1930 is going to be 70 years old, the age of retirement in the United States. Most people are going to start to draw down off of this. Like retirement, I think happens in the United States. Early retirement in your mid 60s, and then like later retirement 72 and on. So the silent generation is going to begin to like draw down on their balance inside the marketplace basically the second they start to roll into like the mid 60s. So at the tail end, the 1930s generation is 70 here, so they'll begin to hit this thing probably about 10 years in front of this thing. They'll begin probably 5 to 7 years, my fault. But you've got a range of people in this age bracket, so you can kind of see the acceleration kind of come with this breakout, like above this level, where baby boomers start to eat into the piece of the market that the silent majority had. And then you have this this entire cycle we have here from the internet bubble over to where we finally really get out of this, under Obama's recovery, going out of 13, 14, 15. And you see that accelerating, like the baby boomers becoming a more dominant player in the market space. Let me get this other chart up here. So where are our boomers at? Our boomers are 46 to 64. So your earliest baby boomer is 54 years old at the turn of the internet bubble. And that guy's going to need his money in 10 more years, right? 12 more years. So the boomers are going to start to basically bleed out of the market by about 13, 15 and bleed into the next generation. So by about here or so is where you should be expecting it. And you have a bull flag right here in Gen X, which is my gen, and then we begin to break out and start to contract the baby boomers' stake in the marketplace. So the millennials, not sure what the fuck's going on with you guys. You haven't done shit. Like, you guys need to get your act together. And then behind this, obviously, Zoomers are not visible yet. But the Zoomers are the first generation of what will be the space cash era. And so I think that, the digital, social media, space cash, basically the future era. We're the old guard. This is the new guard. So I kind of think like, this is an interesting period for what's going forward, and that's why I called it, boomers, zoomers. Is that like this is the first generation of this particular era. So I thought this was interesting to kind of take a look at for you guys to just see this kind of trend structure, of the Gen Xers, and you're waiting, obviously on the breakout of whenever the millennials participate into this. But these generational roles in markets too are pretty significant, like with like different eras of tech that are in the markets as well to kind of pay attention to, because ultimately like each of these different demographics carry behaviors that are fractally similar to the next demographic, but they relate to different eras of tech also. So when this breakout comes, really the millennial breakout likely is into space cash itself when they begin to adopt that new wave of tech, and Gen Xers, myself included, another 10 years out, start to roll out of the market also. Millennials are cucked. I don't know what that means exactly, but sure. We didn't know we were millennial. See, that's exactly the problem. Millennials are accumulating. I don't know. It looks like a shitcoin. Possibly. Oh, yeah, you're right. Thanks about that. I zoomed in too much. You're right. It does have the dates underneath it right here. Um, so, yeah, what I was going to say. So, when you look at, like, the periods, too, right? We want to look at this. Like, when you have the internet bubble and you have this huge climax in the market, right? This kind of goes flat for a little bit. But right here, where the rational exuberance speech happened with Alan Greenspan, right? This is 1986. This is the main markup into the rest of Clinton's presidency, and then ultimately what ends up in the blow off of the internet bubble and ends up in the larger, is fueled by the rotation from silent majority to baby boomers into this technological wave. So when the baby boomers break out, I'm sorry, they're basically breaking out into the internet bubble era's tech, happening. Um, when you come over here and you look at this, Gen X is actually breaking out into the social media smartphone generation. If you think about it right here, this one color is getting annoying. Hold on. We'll look all right on here. That's probably the best color to use, to be honest. But at this point right here, this is the breakout of like smartphones and social media that Gen X is basically, all over. I make a living off of fucking like social media and smartphone making businesses and smartphones. So that is like the generation I adopted. Millennials are going to be the next major technological wave, that breaks out. But what you do see is like baby boomers basically enjoyed the markup into the internet bubble. Gen Xers enjoyed the markup into social media and smartphones, and then millennials will be in the front end of the markup of space cash, like the silent majority was in the turn of the century, and then Zoomers will be the settlers of that era's tech in the next markup, another cycle beyond this. So I thought this is pretty cool to show you guys the generational roles from technological cycles, and how you can kind of see how the next generation feels similarly so about the tech that the old generation felt like. These are the people who thought the internet's going to change the world. These are the people who think social media is going to change the world. These are the people who think that space cash is going to change the world, and so on and so forth. So kind of interesting thing to see the steps, the stagger between each generation, taking the role of the previous generation, and kind of see where it all happens. Social media, internet. This is pretty much like when I left high school, and this is actually when I got my first email account that I never used for another couple years. So I was like up here in college. But this is like the beginning of like the internet era. And this generation, the boomers, who were huge adopters of it. I didn't get into this until obviously getting to college. So it's pretty interesting to see. And for each generation, there'll be a tech staring you in the face that you'll think is like, revolutionary and landmark, and the old generation won't really realize what it is. So I think we're on the cusp of that right now for millennials, and this long accumulation to roll into the 2020s, to roll into space cash, and see the millennials adopt, the tech that comes along this particular wave. You guys think pretty cool, isn't it? Let's see. Why majority of millennials still with their parents? Why are the majority? Because wealth distribution has changed. Your affordability of life has changed a lot. A lot of things are different than from previous generations. Millennial and Zoomer soy levels are worrying. Right, like the world is going to be basically in the hands of a bunch of pussies. Is what you're talking about, and that's true. Um, So let's see. If you're a Zoomer, kid slash nephews got to keep an eye on what they use. Right. Like my son, I pay very close attention to what the fuck he's talking about because he's staring at the stuff that's like going to be big, and he doesn't think of it the way that we do from at the end of like investing in it. But your kids, if you're teens and stuff, they're going to be using the shit you should totally be paying attention to, and they're going to know about it before any of you know about it or how to use it. Um, Thanks for the bits, Mal. So let's see. So I thought it was pretty cool. So there's something that kept kind of crossed my mind and thinking about like what we pay attention to as we go into the 2020s and we step into it. Is looking for the millennial adoption wave that should time with like a mania type motion like this. When we're looking for the Roaring Twenties likely is the millennial adoption wave. So we would be looking for we would be looking for like tech like 3D printing to become more mainstream, more visibly something that's going to come home. Elon Musk is putting into Tesla vehicles. It's going to start operating in space. It's going to start being everywhere. Like tech that's going to stop being like experimental sounding and start to like actually have real world applications for the average consumer, and start to show up. Like email is not going to be something on an intranet inside of a company. It's going to be something that I get to sign up for in high school, and like, what is this and what does this do? So it's going to be a new technological wave that millennials are part of into space cache, and the peripheral tech of space cache is what we're talking about. All right, let's see. Netscape Navigator. Let's see. Okay, can you check space while on topic? Okay, I had a bunch of other stuff people want me to check, so let me do that in order. One sec. The generations chart. Alright, that's all of that. Oh, something else cool I posted before we go and do chart review. Some tech that like your generation likely the Zoomers will enjoy is a cryptocurrency based Mars. Right, this is definitely way out in adoption for a functional economy. And how cool is it that Elon actually literally said verbatim what I said 5 years ago on my Mars chart and 7 years ago. Lesser direct degree. This is kind of a hint of what was to come. But I was specific about it in this one here. Mid 2020s, we begin colonizing Mars and use a form of cryptocurrency to transfer value between colonies. Elon has just arrived at that conclusion in 2020. I think that's not too bad. So let's see. Can you spare? Somebody asked me. Yeah. All right. So let's do some chart review stuff. Oh yeah, this is the other one. Check this thing out. So the Japanese are developing wooden satellites to send into orbit for 2023. What do you guys think about this? It has it has like totally reminders about like that cardboard, Nintendo Switch. I don't think anybody would have thought of somebody putting a wooden object into fucking space as like fucking advanced tech. But this is pretty crazy, right? Definitely some imagination over there. So, and it's conscientious. When this thing re-enters, these satellites will fully burn up and basically not, pose a risk to people on the ground. So I thought this was pretty interesting. But I think seeing a Japanese imagination in space is going to be something that gets a lot more interesting than just this idea. But this is basically them bringing the thinking style of Nintendo into the space cache. So I can't wait to see what else comes out of these guys. All right. So that was we talked about the basket. So let me go back up. If anybody has a list of the stocks, I missed some of the stuff here. Let me see what you guys have asked me so far. I see a question up here. What are your thoughts on having assets in your IRA without stops? It's as dumb as having it in any other account without stops. Do you like, is it better to lose money in your IRA versus your regular account? Like, have stops. That's a terrible idea. Appreciate the bits, Seaweed and Merc. Just found those. Sorry. All right. Can you check EA and Z? All right, I'm back at the top. So we talked about gaming. Keep your eyes on gaming. Obviously, that's still an OnlyFans, and that's still true. So I'm not sure. I popped up on 1 hour time frame here. That actually doesn't look half bad on the time frame I popped up on. So yeah, that was pretty much the sitch that was going on with this guy, right? Ah, Jesus Christ. Man, what is fucking happening with my fucking lines? Any second now. He could be like that, or he could do a fuck move real quick before he leaves and turn into a more typical bull flag. But that's EA right now. See this? That's at 2B, right? What we just talked about at the beginning of the show. Quick breakup and fucking Armageddon, right? So now everybody who is ever here is fucking scared to death of the next time he gets above this. So psychological damage is done. He'll look a lot better the second time he comes through if he sustains it. So you wait for him to get above that. Let me zoom out a little bit more. Yeah. So that's exactly the reason you wait for it to sustain the break. Even if it goes and blows out slightly higher and creates a structure higher, it's better than eating this fucking full reversal. If you eat this reversal and you have a stop, then you don't really give a fuck. It's going to take your, a loss similar to what you take anywhere else. But for many people who don't exercise good risk management, this is a death fucking stroke to their account. So yeah, that guy looks like that. Zillow. So we talked about real estate stuff on here was worth looking at. We talked about Lennar and stuff, and he's definitely been on a crazy run. Right now, I guess he's kind of in chillax mode. I like a lot of stuff in real estate, honestly. If market keeps pushing higher. So we talked about this guy like Lennar, and all these guys kind of look at together. So here's a high break. He's sitting on the breakout. He's actually got a 2B here on the other way, right? Fucking somebody who thinks it's gonna fucking get killed, who sold that and then got raped. So right now, sitting underneath our box range that we want to see him reach, making a bull flag, and you want to wait for that to rotate up. Zillow, with regard to this space, has been a crazy out and out runner. Think longer term he looks good still, but you need him to chill with a run that kind of epic. This is weekly, and this is him coming out of COVID. It's a straight shot. If he flags up here and goes again, it's kind of like Tesla, right? We've seen trends that can be ridiculous, so you don't ever want to bet against it. Just make sure you have your risk defined. If it ends up being, the last hurrah, and he makes a 2B and comes back, he doesn't kill you. But you're kind of waiting to see if he structures a flag here and has the capacity to run again. So that's pretty much all he is. Wait and see where he's at right now. I don't think I know the JD fractal. I know I made this chart for something, but I don't know what the JD fractal was. So you'd have to refresh my memory. Yeah, so I think you just made that comment, but yeah, he's doing whatever he did from the last show we drew this up. OSTK, Overstock, OSTK. Looks like death. So remember, this is I think last time somebody asked me, and we were waiting for this level to clear to play a structure above that. Otherwise, he was potentially a bear flag in a crash cycle, which he turned out to be. So he's rolled out of the bear flag, and he's now looking like holy hell. So this is pretty dangerous. The sentiments around him got pretty crazy, because of his position, the CEO's position on Bitcoin and whatnot. I think right now he looks pretty dangerous. Before he looked good again, he needs to take out that level before you cared about fucking with him on the upside, as he's kind of just like stepping his way lower and lower, from the highs. So it looks like shit and potentially shortable if he keeps the trend up to the downside, you know. So the next level you care about is the level we marked here for a breakout in the upside. Like we said, price has memory. If you mark good levels, they'll come back to be useful later, right? So whatever the fuck level this was, what do we mark him for? Let's see. Oh, there you go. So yeah, I mean, and the higher res like this, you could say that he's making a really deep diving bull flag. But for right now, like a daily, the way he looks, how steep he is, he needs to turn this before we cared. You know, this looks like ass right now. So if he sustains this, it might get interesting. But for the time being, you know, he's in a downtrend on daily. Volume was exceedingly high and it's dropping off a cliff right now. So I guess we just pay attention to it. But for right now, like I said, daily he's downtrending, and with what crypto's doing, what the market's doing, for him to be doing this isn't a good sign. Where are we at? 8:53. Wow, that time went fast in this show. So I'll cover a few things to kind of like get us ready for the market. It is the end of the year. It's a banking holiday in Europe. It's gonna be a banking holiday tomorrow. Shit's thin. Gonna get thinner. So if you've had a good run, a good year, you know, maybe enjoy the rest of the year and don't do something stupid. Um, there's a triple Qs. He's at, you know, he's sitting at the highs right now. AstraZeneca had approval for a drug over there in the UK, which does need to be stored in the fucking ice box, and you know, shows some promise for them over there with their new variants and stuff coming out. It's good news for them. So markets are up, have a bit of positive sentiment. It's been pretty much a push right into the end of the year. You know what they call on CNBC the Santa Claus rally. It's actually happening. So trend wise, that looks good. We're showing you this level here to pay attention to. You got through it. You're through it. Then he could chop that range, right? He did that already. And so now he's above that. So that looks good for him to be breaking out of. This level should be extended. Apple, you know, we looked at Apple. We talked about Apple yesterday. So there's a box we drew the range for. He went right up and smacked into that. And, you know, like we said, once he got above this level, he could push up and then test this box range. So he's done exactly that. So goes Apple, so goes the market. And now that Apple's in motion and out of this fucking, you know, sideways action he's been doing, what he does up here is really key. He gets gas through the top of this thing. Market's going to fucking really get crazy. So, Q's, Apple, all these guys probably should be on watch at the same time. Run, which is solar. So solar is still pretty strong. Watching solar, it's probably easier to gauge them from some other guys in the space. So like Tan overall is your solar ETF. He's kind of like a little bit better structure to look at than what Run is showing us. Run had a bit of FOMO. Is taking some time so they could shake people out of it. You know, but we talked about first solar. First solar would go when we saw like another leg likely happen in solar stocks. And he just basically started his breakout now. This corrector structure we see here is matching 10, matching Run, matching a few of them. So you kind of want to wait for these guys to reset to kind of turn to go to make another move like that. I don't necessarily like the structure of Run compared to how those guys look. Like he's not like through his high. He's clearly weaker than the other ones. He has like, you know, kind of a setup that could look really shitty. If he breaks through this, it would turn into a bear flag and look pretty terrible. Let's see, a bit of high resolution. Yeah, that actually looks pretty scary, doesn't it? So that's not a good formation. The way that's bouncing back like that, he looks scary, and he looks like he actually wants to bear flag a little bit. So probably need to watch him some. And I think if you're going to play solar, there's other guys in the space that are stronger guys in this. So that's the possible danger for him on the downside, for him to look good again on the upside. really just don't like the shape. I think I'd rather see him like do a fuck move and then come back up. I think that looked better if he do people that he was gonna fail and then recover that. That would make a better structure and create like a bull flag like there. I don't really like the setup he has right now. I like other stuff in solar better than this guy. So if he did something like that, create a bull flag on a fake break, then rotate it back up, then he would start to look probably pretty good up here again if he came back. But for right now, I don't like the setup on this thing. Rhea. Alright, I'm getting as many as I can before I go. What time is it here? It is 8:58. I'll throw you guys a link to Telegram too. I know that throw it every show, but I'll throw you guys who are interested in going and having a chit chat. Telegram's not for everybody, like I always say. Come in there, be active. I had some people I actually interviewed and put in there who pretty much all died after I interviewed them, so I'm not interviewing for Telegram anymore. If you come in and don't do shit, we'll eventually just throw you the fuck back out because it doesn't serve anybody a fucking purpose to have you sitting there doing nothing. So let's see here. Rhea. Ryanair. Oh, somebody asked me to cover Brazil, so I'll cover Brazil before I go away because that's always good to cover another market here. Ryanair Holdings. I think this is an airline. What is going on here? Open. So this is an airline transports. Airlines are interesting right now, right? I'm not sure what's in that stimulus bill for them, but likely there should be some provisions in the stimulus bill for those guys. So I think airlines probably worth putting on the radar right now just with that. It'd be pretty good to get the details of what's in there that's to their benefit, but there should be something in it. I don't know if that Boeing 737 going back in the sky is necessarily like the biggest catalyst for them, more so for Boeing that thing's back in the air. But this structure doesn't look too terrible, to be honest. Let's go. That's weekly. Yeah, that's pretty interesting where he's going right through it right now. Oops. I know that is open, but something just fucked up trading view. Doesn't look too bad. So let's take a look at him with regard to some of the other airlines over here. See if he's got the same setup as those guys. So might be a good find there, buddy. That's a good bull flag over on that guy on the other side of the water, and he matches the projection we had for Delta last time we were on here. So I think you're probably watching the entire airline space for rotation right now up through this. See American Airlines. They're kind of the dog of these guys, of the majors. Yeah, that same bull flag is kind of in a couple places, right? So probably keep airlines on watch to see if they rotate these flags and get a leg up. God, this thing, you see this thing? It forms exactly where the fuck I'm drawing. It drives me fucking crazy. God damn it. So, yeah, airlines look interesting with that, definitely. BTC and ETH, I gotta do that with BTC and shit doing what it's doing, so let me go here and do this with you guys. BTC loves a holiday. Told you. So again, if you play these guys since the blue level, which was our main breakout level, we told you for people that weren't like seasoned traders, play above that, one good structure, and you could have played this whole arc. Where BTC is now, it's parabolic as fuck. It's a little dangerous. You're coming to the end of the year. still a holiday time. Very difficult for people to be in front of the monitor at this time of year, and BTC makes really violent moves when people aren't like at battle stations. So I think it's worth keeping your eyes on right now. You're bullish as fuck. Ether might be a more interesting story at this moment. BTC, we kind of know what he's doing, but ETH is running a massive discount to just BTC 20K. If you think about where ETH got to when BTC was didn't even hit 20K. With the further BTC goes through this, if they hold any kind of relative pricing, then Ether is likely destined far higher. I would say as you get to the next large hold number towards 30K, like it's a psychological barrier, and we're pretty parabolic. So caution is definitely warranted. But if you're in this, manage your stops, manage your risk. If you're not in it, don't fucking panic and fire yourself into a vertical price. It's a great way to get fucked up, and usually a good sentiment read on yourself that the moves is mature. Another good opportunity that is in crypto right now, is BNB. We talked about this in the last show. That's not the BNB chart. Look at the drawings on this thing. Oh, okay, there it goes. So you guys remember this guy? We did this dude in the summer. We did this projection. We told you this is likely a gigantic bull flag. If you guys remember that show. So many, many months ago back in the summer. And gave you the projection for how you probably break out, would flag, and then rip again. A little bit of an angle difference. I'm not sure what's happening in TradingView. It's going fucking haywire on me right now, right before the end of the show. Unbelievable. So TradingView just like officially shit itself. Not sure what the fuck just happened here. But yeah. So, we changed the aspect ratio in this guy, if you remember, and showed you, this situation right here. And he is right now challenging the high. So, like we talked about high breaks, right? Needs to get through that kind of cleanly. You could probably consider BNB the pickaxe and shovel of the shitcoin pump world. He benefits even if all the shitcoins don't. If that's ultimately like where the market's rotating to. BNB is a big beneficiary of shitcoin pumping. So it's like marijuana, right? IIPR benefits regardless if your fucking marijuana stocks make money. BNB is kind of that thing for shitcoin land. So he's now challenging this level. Probably needs to fucking structure out a shockwave here and blow through this. But definitely worth keeping your eyes on this large ass shockwave. If this leaves, this could be pretty crazy. But yeah, the trend in motion is likely to stay in motion. So ETH looks good on like these reses. He's arcing out of this. This was a huge bull flag we drew out when we talked about BNB's bull flag. We also drew out this bull flag. These are the bull flags of all three of these we drew for you. They said there were similar structures going on in crypto. Remember? We drew all these out for you guys at the same time in the same show. And that's where this hard top right here came from on BTC through 10.3, which we then flagged through, and then we rotated. So you can see that's one thing I tell you, right? Crypto is so ridiculously correlated. So right now, BTC is the biggest beneficiary of the leave of this giant bull flag. Ether is on his way out of it, and BNB is trying to exit it. LTC also exhibited the same bull flag too. We had drawn him out right there, right? So the same bull flag, and that was a projection like BNB's. To see him exit, of course, he's taking a little longer to come out of it, but all of the big cap guys that we focus on this list have done the giant bull flag and have all rotated through. So ETH is now pretty much in second tier position behind Bitcoin with regard to like breaking this high of the bull flag. Right? Both BNB and LTC haven't done it, so it's just really ETH who's chasing BTC at this moment. If Litecoin is able to blow out its own grandma level, he'll get a lot more interesting above this level here at 149, which is Litecoin's corresponding grandma level. So that will also put him clear of his bull flag and let him have like freedom to ease of movement. So that's your crypto recap. I can't get to any more stuff, dudes. So hope you learned some interesting stuff. Covered some macro things I want to talk to you about as far as generations and shit like that, 2B rules and whatnot. You catch up on anything else down below real quick before I sign off abruptly. Sequencing, Winter Trader, appreciate you guys. Getting to the bottom. Interesting. You use the Zillow rental process, was pretty dope. Software, they handle applicant screening, now credit background check, and also handle payment. Pretty slick. Interesting. One-stop shop. And they do timeshare. Interesting. Crypto loves a holiday. If New Year's is a holiday energy, then yes. Did I give you specific holidays it doesn't love? Then Boomer Bits, respect Eli, Biggie Smalls, appreciate you guys. Let me throw out this Telegram link. I promised I'd throw out for you guys that want to come in and chit chat in the Telegram room. First, you cheapskates leaving OnlyFans, get your ass on there. You know they know better analysis out there. Let's see. Uno momento. Guys, I'd appreciate the ecosystem. You are most welcome. Thanks for being active here on the show. Thanks to all the guys that participate, for all the people that keep the chat going in Telegram. We appreciate you guys, being participants in the ecosystem also. Thanks for the bits one more time, yada yada. I appreciate everybody. This has been the Real Nomics. Zoomer Boomers. Hope y'all learned something. This is probably the last show for the year, so if I don't catch you guys have a safe, safe New Year's Eve celebration. Don't get COVID, and we'll catch you in 2021. Peace.
Welcome to Winternomics TV. Your stream will begin shortly. Loading in 5. Welcome to Winternomics TV.